Bowling with the Theft.
I encourage you to get fast.
Your bowling stories.
Odds! All things the game of bowling.
Every week.
Helping bowlers.
The hand collapses down.
Live.
And I'm going to try to bowl the best I can.
2,000 subscribers. 2,000 subscribers.
I want to challenge Ken Nelson.
Tom Corbett.
Jason Belmonte.
Let's do this. This is Bowling with the Pfaff.
Well, good Wednesday evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Pfaff, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. An exciting evening in bowling. I've got a little breaking news to get to. I know there has been a little interest in that, but we've also got a great guest tonight, Nikki Reese, who's going to be on in just a moment. Had a nice conversation with her leading up to this and can't wait to dive into her bowling story. But let's kind of get the big news out of the way here. It is not going to be long. In fact, it might even be tomorrow when we find out the 2025 PBA Tour schedule. Now, this afternoon, I messaged Tom Clark, the commissioner of the PBA. He told me that he is excited that the World Series of Bowling will return to the National Bowling Stadium in Reno. He went on to say that he thinks it will be the biggest World Series of Bowling ever. He did not mention the dates, but remember the 2024 event in Allen Park, Michigan, that happened on April 3rd through the 21st of that year. So who knows? Could be in that time frame, maybe not. As I mentioned, I asked when the full 2025 tour schedule will be released. He responded that he thinks it's coming out tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Once it does come out, I will relay that message to all the social channels and keep everyone in the know. We do have a handle on a little bit of it right now. On the Strike Derby telecast on Sunday, John Fanta announced that the Delaware Classic telecast will be January 25th on Fox to kick off the 2025 season. Now, 2 years ago, USBC had said that the 2025 US Open will once again be at Royal Pin Woodland in Indianapolis. This is going to be the fourth straight year that the US Open, which is a PBA major championship, will be held in that 70-lane center. Again, still waiting on that full 2025 PBA Tour schedule. And when that is released, you will hear about it on the social channels. So be sure and like and follow that Facebook group, like the Twitter page, X page, whatever you want to call it, and be in the know. And subscribe to the channel while you're at it. You'll be the first to know when we come out with new videos and do live streams and all that good stuff. Connor chiming in says he hopes that I am doing great. I certainly am. The weather, he says, has been a roller coaster there in Virginia. It was 81 today, and tomorrow will be in the 60s. Kind of a similar scenario here. It's been warm a couple days, but the bottom's supposed to fall out tomorrow. So we'll get jackets back on and put the shorts away for a little bit and I guess brace ourselves for some cold weather. A bunch of PBA and PWBA champions will be competing for Team USA at the International Bowling Federation World Cup in January. Earlier today, the USBC announced that the National Selection Committee selected Packy Hanrahan, Chris Prather, Matt Russo, and Chris Vi for the men's team. The women's roster includes Jillian Martin, Shannon Pluhowski, Lauren Russo, and Brianna Cote. The World Cup tournament, is in Hong Kong from January 7th through the 14th. You may recall that the men did take that title in Australia last year. The women finished fourth, so men looking to repeat, women looking to improve on their finish from just a year ago. Don't forget, we've got the merch store up and running on Etsy.com. It's Etsy.com/shop/bowlingwiththepfaffco. You'll find t-shirts for the summer, hoodies for the winter, all kinds of great stuff, courtesy of Bowling with the Pfaff. And speaking of Bowling with the Pfaff, certainly couldn't do this without our wonderful sponsors. First and foremost, Jerry's Score More Bowling Supply, our newest sponsor, inside Wagner's Lanes in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. You can catch him at 715-559-1822 or go to Jerry's Score More Bowling Supply.com. And there's another sponsor that you may know about already.
Handmade salsa is great, but it's such a hassle. Cutting yourself,
The constant waiting, burning yourself. Oh, look at that mess. Raise your snack standards. Chip Magnet Salsa.
You don't want to cut yourself, burn yourself, or anything like that. Just grab a jar of Chip Magnet. And if you're in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, you can find it all over the flippin' place. You can find it at Whole Foods, Nolan's Festivals, Kowalski's, Lunds and Byerly's, and most all small co-op stores. But if you happen to be in a place where you can't get it or are looking for a special deal, go to chipmagnetsalsa.com and enter this promo code at checkout, BWTF2024. You'll get 25% off your purchase of $30 or more with no limit. Chip Magnet, raise your snack standards. And as always, thank you very much to our sponsors, Jerry's Scoremore Bowling Supply and Chip Magnet Salsa. Well, our guest tonight isn't just a high-level competitive bowler. She is helping to run one of the better senior tournament tours in the Midwest right now, and she is friend to many on the lanes, but she's also a runner. She's a Hallmark movie watcher. She's a Golden Girls superfan, and of course, a pumpkin spice enthusiast. So it's about time that we get her out here. Nikki Reese is joining us from Richfield, Minnesota, by way of Duluth, Minnesota. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, Nikki.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is great. I know you told me you were a little nervous, so I'm going to try and make this as easy as possible on you. This is about you, and you're an expert in you. So I don't think this is going to be tough at all. But I did reach out to Jessica Boyer, and I'm going to start with this. She wants me to ask you about your favorite card game of Uno. What does she mean by that?
Back when we had the Jazzy Apes tournament team, we would always have get-togethers or play games if we had some time between shifts, and they loved playing cards. I'm not a fan of card games. I'm more a fan of sitting and chit-chatting, and they knew that. And so whenever we played Uno, it was always draw four, reverse, draw four, draw four. I got hit with all the different cards, and I always ended up losing. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not playing this game. Whoever plays this game again, I'm washing my hair. I'm not available that day.
Okay. But they know this. I mean, and she still comes up with that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Anytime I see her, she's like, we should play Uno. I'm like, absolutely not.
Well, let me get the good stuff, though. Jessica isn't all bad. She says that you're one of her favorite people to bowl with and hang out with outside of bowling. She says there's never a dull moment with you. She's always smiling or laughing with you when you see each other. I mean, that says it all, right?
She's great. I've known her for a very long time. Again, we bowled on tournament teams together. We bowled against each other, but always someone that whenever I see her, it's always a big hug, a big, how are you? Yeah, no, we've had a small little group of us that have been doing kind of some events. We went to Dead End Hayride. We went to Rentfest. Always a good time. Always laughing, jokes, just never stressful, never drama, always good time.
Yeah. She's, it's been great getting to know her since she's agreed to be on the show. And I can understand why you guys get along so well, for sure. Okay. So, let's get back to the original matter at hand. The pumpkin spice. Is it really as good as people like you would have people like me believe?
I think so. It's definitely one of those things. I mean, you love it or hate it. I love pumpkin. I don't even know, it just probably in the last 5 years I've really gotten into it. When everyone thinks pumpkin spice latte, I usually get maybe one of those a year. I'm more pumpkin everything. I'm more the cold brew, the pumpkin cold brew at Starbucks, and now I've kind of verged over to the brown chicken sugar espresso with the pumpkin cold foam on top. But my desk at work is covered in pumpkins. My house is decorated with pumpkins. Anything pumpkin flavored, pumpkin oatmeal, the pumpkin Cheerios, anything. I love it all.
Yeah. And you don't get sick of that stuff, even if you're going from a pumpkin Cheerio breakfast to a pumpkin cold brew to a pumpkin bar during the day. I mean, no?
Nope. Anything I can get my hands on, and usually I know it's coming to be that season where it's starting to go out of season. So I'm gonna try to stock up on they came out with the pumpkin cold foam you can buy at the store. I'm gonna try to stock up on some of that before it goes out. But yeah, no, I usually drink pumpkin year round. A pumpkin spice protein. The Premier Protein has really good ones. I've been doing that in my coffee. So all year round, I will drink it all year round.
Okay. Altoona, Wisconsin, where I'm based and broadcasting from, has a ginormous pumpkin festival once a year. Ginormous. I mean, we're talking like these people bring in 2,000-pound pumpkins and they just build this event around it, and everything pumpkin this and pumpkin that. I mean, you know,
I'll have to hit that up one year.
yeah, for sure. Okay. The running. How can you run these long distances? I remember back in high school and junior high, they'd say, okay, today we're running the mile. And I'd be, ugh, you know.
I was that person too. Yeah.
Yeah. But you run a lot more than a mile nowadays.
Yeah. So this last June, I completed my, I don't even 12th or 13th half marathon. Growing up in Duluth, Grandma's Marathon has always been a huge part of my life. And I volunteered with family growing up. So I always said, I want to do this one day. And me and my best friend, shout out to my bestie, Sarah. I hope she's watching. We just were like, yeah, we can do this. We can totally do this. Let's sign up. So we sign up for all these races. We also go to concerts together. But it's one of those things you just got to put your mind to it. Probably only in the last couple of years, I've been really, really training. Before I just kind of wung it, which is not the best best thing to do. Do not advise that. But yeah, like it's good for my mental health. It's good for my physical health. It's just one of those things. If I have a schedule and I know I need to do it, I don't always want to do it, but once I get it done, I feel so much better. So
yeah, it's impressive. I got to tell you, yeah, kudos to you for doing that stuff. And you hear people say, oh, I'm doing couch to 5K and I'm training for a 5K. What does that even involve? I mean, you've seen me. I'm not exactly, in marathon shape, but how do you go from couch to actually getting that done and the joy of the accomplishment?
Like I said, I didn't always train, so I'm probably not the best advice on this. But no, just starting slow. Get those steps in. Something I've done the last couple of months has just been trying to get 10,000 steps a day. So just starting with those steps, and then start doing like interval running, like run a minute, walk a minute, or even like a half a minute or whatever you need to do, and then just gradually build that up. There are times where I can run 5 miles and feel great, and the next day I go to run a mile and I feel like I'm gonna die. It's just sometimes your body you just really need to adjust to it. So yeah, it's a lot of planning. There's so much information on the internet too. You can find very simple, like the couch to 5K plans or anything like that. I do have some friends that are like really into running and who kind of help me like develop training plans. So that has been really helpful too.
Yeah. Well, whether it's a mile or 5, I mean, that's something I've always admired about you. So be proud, because that's really awesome. The Golden Girls. I've heard that you love the Golden Girls. I want to know if you love the Golden Girls as much as Mrs. Pfeff. This is sitting in her office as we speak, and it only is because I got it for her for a holiday. But tell us about the Golden Girls and why you love them so much.
Yeah, so I was introduced to the Golden Girls, obviously, probably like younger, but now probably in the last like 10 years being an adult, I've discovered the reruns on Hallmark every night. I just love them. I just love the thought of like just living your best life with your besties, having lunch on the lanai and all that stuff. Like I love it. I love, Rose, she's from Minnesota, so very near and dear to my heart. But no, I just love all the characters. I love the plot. I just love the single women don't need no man empowerment. Just living their best life with their besties, and I just love it.
Okay, here's my question. Why whenever Stan comes to their house, he always has to introduce himself? Hey, it's me, Stan. Like they hadn't known that it was Stan.
Yeah, I never understood that either, but I also love that, Dorothy always rolls her eyes and she's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, maybe there's an inside joke there.
There must be. I know. I've watched most of the episodes and I haven't quite figured that one out yet.
Yeah, so have I by proxy, Richard Black says, we need you. I'm at 77 in the 7th. And you explained that this is typically your league night at Cedarvale Lanes and Egan, but
Correct.
You got a sub just for this show.
And Richard is my sub tonight. He is bowling for me, so yep.
Okay. All right. Well, you can't have her. The plane's in the air already.
No, yep.
But if you were to give Richard some advice without having seen him throw a single shot tonight, what would it be?
Change balls. You're probably throwing the wrong one.
Okay. Change balls, Richard. Update us as you go. Nikki probably wants to know,
Yes.
how the team is doing through all this. Hallmark movies. How
Mhm.
come?
I don't know. Like as much as I love fall, I love Christmas. I just love this whole time from like August to December. August, my birthday month. So, and that's when pumpkin spice comes out.
Mine too.
Yes. August birthdays.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love Halloween. I love Thanksgiving. I love Christmas. And I feel like every year earlier and earlier the Hallmark movies come out. But it's just something my mom and I do. We love to watch them together. You being my friend on Facebook, you've probably seen me post about the spreadsheet my family has.
That's pretty intense.
Yes. My poor brother has ooh, he got a strike. My poor brother has been coerced into creating these spreadsheets for us, and every year he puts what day the movie's on, the title, the characters, and every year the spreadsheet has kind of involved the kind of joke in our family is, oh, they kissed, so it's the end of the movie. But now they're starting to kiss like mid-movie, so we have columns of like, did they kiss in the middle of the movie, did they kiss at the end, that kind of stuff. So every year like another column is added to kind of keep us involved in it and keep track. So yeah, everyone in our family has a spreadsheet for themselves. They can track if they watch the movies or not.
This isn't a drinking game, is it?
Oh, it sometimes it is. If we're having a family gathering, it might be. Yep.
Okay. Oh, maybe I'll have to check out some of these Hallmark movies. All right. So obviously the show is not about pumpkin spice. It's not about the Golden Girls. It's not about running or Hallmark movies, but rather the greatest sport of them all, bowling. And you started out way up north. You're from Duluth. I remember there being a couple of centers in Duluth proper, some others on the outskirts. Tell me about that bowling community and what the circumstances were when you got started.
Yeah. So the two bowling alleys I grew up bowling most in are no longer there, or they are not bowling alleys anymore. I started bowling at Stadium Lanes in West Duluth. I have an older brother, and I was definitely a tomboy growing up. I wanted to do anything my big brother did. So my big brother started bowling with one of our neighbor friends. And of course, I went down to watch and was like, well, I want to do this too. So that's kind of how I got started. Started out bowling at Stadium Lanes, and then eventually moved up to Country Lanes North, which was up on the hill. Again, now I think that is a Planet Fitness. I don't think that is no more. I believe that's what that is now. And then Stadium Lanes is a storage unit.
Wow.
Facility. So, but yes, there's also incline lanes, which as an adult, I did bowl leagues there. There are two bowling alleys over in Superior, Wisconsin, just right over the bridge. So definitely bowled there. I've gone back a couple times in the last 6 months or so to bowl in Superior over there. They've redone the one bowling alley. It's just absolutely amazing. So.
Okay. So you get into it. And I mean, with that much bowling kind of going on in your family, is that like instant coach right there?
Yeah. Definitely my brother, someone I always looked up to and worked with. My dad's always been very involved in sports and coaching. I know both my brother and I in like softball, baseball, so bowling as well. Paul Gobe, Dave Martin were two of my biggest coaches up there, as well as the Carlsons at Country Lanes North. I started when I was 5. So from that early age on all the way through high school, those were my coaches. And I mean, there were so many more throughout like the youth program up there, but those were kind of like my main people that really, really helped me get involved and get me to where I am.
Yeah. Was it a pretty robust youth program where you were at?
Yeah. So Stadium Lanes, I believe, was 32 lanes. And I remember going there every Saturday morning. I always kind of joke like my childhood, like I couldn't have sleepovers on Friday nights because I had bowling on Saturday morning. Or if I did go sleep at a friend's house, my parents had to be there early in the morning to pick me up to go bowling. But yeah, like 32 lanes, and it was packed from one end to the other. You could barely move, and I just think back to being Halloween tomorrow. I think back to like the Halloween parties we had at the bowling alley. It was just craziness. But I mean, it was just looking back on that, it was so good to know like that program was there. And so many people from that program that I grew up bowling with, I'm still good friends with. So, and I still at least, chat with them on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of tournament situation do you have up there? I remember, I bowled Minnesota Junior Bowlers Tour when I was, long ago, when TV was still black and white and we were, chiseling messages on stone tablets. But we'd go to Duluth a couple times a year, but it was just a couple times a year, right? Did you have regular youth tournaments around there? Or was it just, every so often?
It was, your standard like Pepsi tournament, the city tournament, that kind of stuff. Yeah, when I also hold MJBTs, there was a stop in Duluth. I don't believe there is anymore. But yeah, I think that was part of my, moving to the cities was the more exposure to the tournaments, the more exposure to the talent that's in the Twin Cities. Not that there's not talent in Duluth, there's so much talent up there. But it's just much more down here. There's bowling alleys every 5-10 minutes in the cities. Just getting that exposure and meeting new people, meeting like the reps, because there are more tournaments here and more like bigger tournaments. So
yeah. Was there maybe a moment or something that you did on the lanes in juniors that had you really believing that not only could you compete with your peers there in that community, but also others throughout the state and even the Midwest?
Yes. So in Duluth, we did have like one big tournament. It used to be one big tournament. It was called many different names throughout its time. It was the Amico, it was the Amico BP, it was the Amico Subway, it was the Subway Challenge. And at the end of it, I believe 2020 was the last year it was ran. It was the Underthun Challenge. Back when I was growing up, like in high school, it used to be televised. Like so one of the local channels that used to be televised. I think the very first year I bowled it, I ended up making the finals on TV, and I don't think I won the first year. I can't remember back. But ultimately, I ended up winning the tournament 3 times as a junior bowler. And I believe it was my sophomore year of high school when I won that tournament. The sportscaster who would telecast with like one of my bowling coaches, Paul Go, he contacted me later that week, and I was chose as Prep Athlete of the Month.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a huge thing for me. And bowling was like really big up there, and it was always like there was always like blurbs in the newspaper about stuff. And I remember one time they were doing an article about kind of like the top junior bowlers in the area, and my name was mentioned, and my coach Paul had mentioned like, yeah, she's a girl, but she can hold her own against these boys. Like, don't let her fool you. So I think just kind of like having those couple things, like, Prep Athlete of the Month at bowler, like you don't really think about that, but that, and then just having your coach recognize you, like that was really something like, hey, maybe I can do something with this. So
yeah. Okay, you got to tell me. I mean, I'm sitting here 47 years old. I've never bowled on television before. What's that like? And what's it like when you're a teenager? I mean, that's got to be crazy, right?
Yeah, like, and it was just a local channel, but still, like, it was crazy. Like, this tournament every year, I would be up all night, just sick to my stomach. Like, oh my God, I'm so nervous for tomorrow. Oh my God, I can't eat. I can't do anything, And then my mom, like, every morning is like, you need to eat. But yeah, it was just, again, I hadn't even like got to that point. You still had to bowl to get to the finals. But I was just so nervous for it. And yeah, twice I won 3 times. Again, local channel, but still knowing that a lot of people were watching, and kind of in my friend group, everyone knew I was a bowler, so everyone knew like what was kind of going on. And this was pre-Facebook days, so I couldn't really like post on Facebook like, hey guys, watch the TV, I'm going to be on there. But we did record it, TV on the TV, and record it. I actually remember the first year I won, I brought it to high school, and my health teacher was like, let's watch it. So we like watched it in class, and it was very nerve-wracking, but looking back, I'm so glad I have those memories.
See, that's much better than learning about nutrients and, physical activity.
Right.
Watch bowling for half an hour or whatever it is. Okay. Did you have the opportunity to bowl for your high school, or were you just doing individual stuff?
Yep. We did have a high school team. I'm trying to think. I think when my brother's 4 years older than me. So I think when he was a freshman was the first year of the bowling team at Denfeld, where I went to high school. Oh. When I was a senior, I was the captain of the bowling team. I believe I was the first female captain. So yeah, that was really exciting.
Was it a mixed team or did you have boys and girls?
Yeah, we didn't have the separate like girls team like they do now. I remember I was helping, going to help with the Farmington girls last year for a couple times, and I was like, that's crazy that they have like enough girls for this, and that's so amazing. But yeah, we were mixed teams. We did not have like the girls teams yet.
Okay. And what kind of responsibility did you have as captain? I feel like that can kind of be different depending on the team, depending on the personalities, depending on the experience of you and your teammates. So what was that like for you?
A lot of it, our coaches did a lot of the lineup stuff, but there would be times when the coach would look to me and to say, what are you seeing? And again, they were kind of sitting back when I was down in the settee area. I was with everyone. I might pick up on someone's nerves that they weren't, or, seeing how people were throwing it and how it was reacting, better than they might. So, choosing lineups as well as like pep talks and just keeping everyone's head in the game, encouraging people if they missed a spare, like, hey, it's okay. We'll get it next time. We got you. Like as a team sport in a Baker event, you need to be able to pick up your teammates. So it was just being able to keep that positivity.
Yeah. We mentioned MJBT, of course, because we were both in it. And when you finish doing that, you really realize what a fabulous opportunity that is to, to bowl that kind of competition at that level, that many games, now sport patterns, things like that. Tell me about that experience for you. What was it like, and how did you do?
Yeah, so I didn't compete in a lot of them. I always obviously competed in the one in Duluth, and then I came down for a couple in the cities. In high school, I wasn't much into like the traveling bowling like I am now, but again, exactly like you said, looking back on it and the opportunity to do something like that, I wish I would have taken advantage of it more. Especially thinking back to the caliber of bowlers that I bowled with. Like I was in the Matt McNeil era, Eric Vermillion and Amanda Vermillion. Like to think of like the talent that was there and just to be part of that was just really special.
Yeah. See, I was in the Brent Prentice era, so I didn't win at all. But
I did not either.
But
I did not play once.
he says, Nikki, who, haha, great bowler and great person. That's
Brent, yeah, he loves to not recognize me when I'm in like normal people clothes because he always ever sees me in bowling clothes. So when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, I was in a cute like summer dress and I went up and congratulated him. And he was like, who are you? And it happened multiple times. I was also at Cedarville watching the PWBA with my friend Laura, and he came up and he was like, Laura, who's your friend? And I'm like, Brett.
Oh, good stuff. Nikki who? Aaron Bunker says, how's Maverick?
All right, another one of my teammates who I believe, he's off tonight. I was going to say he should be bowling right now, but I believe he is off. Maverick is my baby boy. He's my kitty cat. So They are currently locked out of my office. Otherwise, they will be walking in front of the camera the whole time.
That's funny because mine are, quarantined to the upper level because one of mine eats, chews cords.
Yep.
So either she's going to set the house on fire or shock herself or something, or at least ruin what I'm trying to do here because I'll tell you, there's a lot of cords going on where I'm at. He says, your brother is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay. Tom Jones says, Nick H wants to know if you were unflappable on TV.
Tom Jones.
And by Nick H, I'm guessing Nick Hoagland.
Yep, that would be Nick Hogan. Yeah. Tom, that's a story for another time, but
Are you sure?
That's an inside joke, and I knew those were going to come out, but
okay. He claims he said no such thing. So I don't know.
It's like Nick's supposed to be home and in bed sick right now. So
okay. Well, you can be sick and still, keyboard warrior.
True. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You get through high school. You obviously had a successful time in high school as captain. Did you have an opportunity to bowl in college, or was that something you pursued?
So back when I graduated, bowling in college, like it wasn't as prominent as it is now. Did have the opportunity. I applied and was accepted to Missouri Baptist University. Something got mixed up with my enrollment and my transcripts and yada, yada, yada. And it just became too late by the time I did get like my like, okay, you're good to go. So I enrolled at UMD and stayed in Duluth. And the plan was after a year at UMD was to go somewhere and go bowl, but life just happened and it never happened. Ended up getting two degrees from UMD, so kind of ate up my eligibility for bowling, which if I would have known that, I probably wouldn't have done that. But yeah, so did not bowl in college, and I don't like to live my life with many regrets, but that is probably one of my biggest regrets in life is not bowling in college.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, but you tried. It wasn't, totally like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You had the intent, and you've done pretty well for yourself bowling wise since then. So, we'll, stick with us. This
I'll
gets
take
good.
it.
Yeah. Okay. So one other thing that Nick told me beforehand is that you're an incredible person that may always claim to hate bowling, but you can tell when you get on the lanes that you have a passion for it. Is that one of those things like, like we found out with Michael Jordan in The Last Dance, where he's like kind of almost making up reasons to have a chip on his shoulder about things and then, scoring all the points and doing well? Is that what you do?
I always explain bowling as like a love-hate relationship. Like, obviously I love bowling. I've been doing it for 33 years. There are times where I'm just like, because I've been doing this so long, if I didn't, like, what would I do with my time, energy, and money and all of that stuff? But no, I do love bowling. It's when you have a bad day, like, it's really frustrating, and it's very easy to just be like, I hate this. Why do I do this? But obviously we always keep coming back for more. Me and all of my bowling friends have that conversation every September. Why do we do this? Because we love it. We don't like to admit it all the time, but we do.
Yeah. You mentioned the bowling friends. Nick said that you support your friends all the time and really is everyone's biggest cheerleader bowling wise. She comes to tournaments when she isn't even bowling just to cheer on her friends. I mean, that's some commitment. That's, giving up valuable time, because that always happens on weekends. Why is that important to you?
They're my friends. I'm trying not to get choked up. I love my friends, especially Nick. He's one of my biggest supporters, and I spent this last weekend up at the Mermaid watching him and Johnny Holmes bowl the doubles tournament. I mean, I do, a lot of people bowling, but I literally was up there Saturday morning, went and got my Starbucks, got my coffee, went up to the bowling alley, hung out for a bit, and ended up driving up to Blainbrook to bowl myself. I was bowling the Twin Cities 600 Club, bowled my 3 games, went back down to Mermaid, finished watching them bowl the second half, and then ended up going up there Sunday morning to watch match play, and then I went off to a different bowling alley to score keep. So I'm always at a bowling alley. Anytime I tell people, what are you doing this thing? I'm like, I'm probably going to be in a bowling alley, whether I'm bowling or I'm helping out at a tournament or I'm watching my friends. My friends are my biggest people. Like, they're my people. And I would say 99% of my friends are people I've met through bowling. So it's just, they make me happy, and I just want to be there to support them.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like I said, weekends can be tough for a lot of people to break free. I can probably, count on 2 hands the number of weekends, in the past 6 months when I meant to be at the bowling center, if nothing else, just to check out, how people I knew were doing. And, life gets in the way. So I'm sure, that means a lot to those folks who, whose corner you're in, that, you take that extra time to get out there. That's really cool. You mentioned moving to the Twin Cities, and, with family in Duluth, we're about 2.5 hours difference, away. What made you decide to move down to the cities?
So the initial reason was I was asked to be part of a tournament team. Back in, I believe it was the 14-15 season. I was asked to be part of the Jazzy 8 team. I didn't really know anyone on the team. I got in kind of on a whim. One of the boyfriends of the team was like, well, no one really knows this girl because she lives in Duluth, but she's a really great bowler. You should ask her to be on the team. For that first season, I was driving down every weekend, almost for tournaments. Like the city tournament, I think we bowled 2 different weekends. So driving back and forth. So then in 15, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to take the leap and I'm going to move there again for the opportunities that are down here that are not in Duluth. As well as I just kind of needed a change of pace. So
Yeah. Was it? I'm assuming it was a good move for you.
yeah, actually, funny enough, I ended up like moving down here, moving back to Duluth, and then moving back down here. But now I've been back down here again. I think next month will be 8 years I've been living down in the cities here. But
Okay. Yeah. And a lot of great people down there, of course, especially in bowling.
yes.
Tell me about that tournament team. How many events did you bowl per season? I mean, what kind of a commitment was it? Again, that's something that can be kind of subjective depending on who you're with and how serious they are.
Yeah. So at that point, there was the separate associations of Minneapolis and St. Paul. So there were those 2 city tournaments, and then there was also the state tournament. Again, the tournament, if you want to bowl, you can bowl every weekend here in the cities. There's a tournament. So yeah, we would do like the team challenges or anything like that came up. So I mean, it was quite a commitment. I mean, and I think at that point I was, I think I was working like a second job, like a part-time job or something. So I remember a couple of the weekends my dad was driving me, and I was like working in the lab, on the laptop in the passenger seat, and I just kind of like looked over and chuckled, like, "Hey, Dad, did you think at 28 years old you'd still be driving your daughter to bowling tournaments?" And he was like, "No."
Yeah, but that's cool because it's still something you
Absolutely.
can share, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Who all was on that team?
Oh gosh, this is a long time ago. I don't even remember. We had Trista Kimmis, Michelle Taylor, myself, Ryan, Oswald. I'm so sorry, Ryan. I'm butchering your name right now.
I put her on the spot. We didn't.
I know, right? Heather Linder. I know now it's fine. Like a lot of these people were married, so trying to remember like their maiden name versus.
Sure.
Amelia Erickson, Bree. I know she's just got married, I think. So, or she's I'm totally Jess Boyer was also on the team. Okay. Shannon O'Ryan, now Shannon Hooger. Yeah, we had like a ton of people. We ended up, I think when we ended up kind of that team going away, we had, I think, 3 to 4 teams of women. So there was a lot of people. Terry Howe, obviously, with Jazzy A Platinum team. So Terry Howe was a big person. She didn't get to bowl with us all the time, but she always tried to come and support as much as she could. So
yeah, and there's definitely some talent there with some of those names you mentioned.
Absolutely.
Jessica, mentioned that you guys have been bowling off and on since about 2016, 17. She said she's always loved you. That you're super personable and funny and a great bowler. It helps to kind of have a sense of humor and, share the inside jokes with, when you're traveling with the same people and bowling over and over again, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I just honestly feel like I mean, obviously like the Uno thing coming up, I don't even think about that anymore, but then it comes up and you're like, oh my God. But yeah, I mean, so many inside jokes again, like the Tom Jones, so many inside jokes, and I love it. Like I love bowling, and I'm serious about it, but to a point of like, I would much rather just be with my friends and hang out and have fun and laugh. So, and I think that's what I love about like my group of people and my circle in bowling is we all just love to have a good time. Like again, all really good bowlers, all very talented, but in general, just really good human beings.
Yeah. Tell me, does it take a while for you to warm up to these people that are in your circle, or does that happen fast in some situations?
I think it depends. Like I know, like I am, a lot of people are like, you're very loud and you're a very big personality. But I'm also that person, like, I think when I first moved to the cities, I was kind of quiet and I kind of just sat back and I observed. And, obviously coming into a group of women who have bowled in the Twin Cities their whole lives and they knew everybody and they knew all the stories and they knew this. And I'm like, can you guys put a binder together of photos of people and like who this, because I have no idea who any of these people, like what's going on and who's who. And so I think it did take me like probably like a year or two, but now I think it's to the point of like, I always joke, I will not walk into a place like alone. Like I will, if I'm meeting a friend at a restaurant, I will sit in my car and I will wait. A bowling alley is the only place that I will walk into by myself because more than likely I'm going to know somebody there.
Yeah. Good to see Jessica at least jumping on for a second to say, hey.
Hey girl, hey.
No, she said she was bowling and wouldn't be able to watch it live, so she'll review, but Yeah, good to see you here, Jessica. Hope you're bowling well. Okay, so it was recommended to me that I reach out to Jessica Ash to find out the story of how you two became friends. She said she was working at a tournament. She thinks it was mixed city. Wasn't really sure.
Yep.
She said she was taking scores while you were bowling. She said you were talking about scores for the day, and she mentioned that she recently shot her first 700 series, and you were like, "Oh, that's awesome." She said the next week, she saw you when you came up to help with scoring, and you yelled at her for not mentioning that she shot 700 in that tournament, thinking that was her first one. Um, you said that she started out your friendship on a lie, but she did both things. She shot her first 700 in league and also shot a 700 in that tournament. When it rains, it pours.
Yep. First of all, shout out Jess. It's her birthday today, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yes, no, and I honestly, in my birthday post today, I was like, even though our friendship started out in a lie, I love you so much and I forgive you. Yeah, so it was Mixed City. I believe we were bowling up at Classic. I had kind of had a rough season, and that was my first 700 of the season was at Mixed City. So it was in January. And I was just kind of like, I was so happy, so relieved, but also like so frustrated of like, ugh. And so, yeah, she was writing down scores, and we were kind of just like small talk. And I was like, oh, yeah, I just shot a 700. It was my first 700 of the season. She was like, oh my God, I just shot my first 700 in league the other night. I'm like, oh my God, that's so awesome. And then so after the weekend was done and scores got posted, I look and I see she shot a 700 at that tournament. And I'm like, she lied. Like, why didn't she be like, I shot a 700 in league and in this tournament, so I shot 2 in 1 week. Like, brag up. Like, and so then like I saw her the next week, and like I know I yell at people, which I yell at Nick all the time too. But I'm like, hello, like you totally lied to me. And she was like, what are you? And of course she doesn't know me and my personality at the point, because we literally just met. She was like, I didn't lie to you. I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, you lied to me. You said you bowled a 700 in league. You bowled a 700 in this tournament too. And she's like, well, I didn't know what to say. And I was like, I can't believe you lied to me. But yeah, so that is the lie that started our friendship. But she is literally also, along with Nick Hogan, the three of us are kind of like the Three Musketeers. But one of my favorite human beings. Again, we've only known each other a year and a half, but so I love her. I adore her. And I love that I can tell her she lies to me and we can laugh about it. So.
Yeah. I think the word yell is overused in our society.
I agree.
You know, I mean, just because some people enunciate things differently, maybe volumes change, it's not necessarily yelling.
I agree.
Or at least not intended to be.
Correct, yes.
So, I mean, you know, before you make that leap, oh, she's there. Love you too, girly. Jessica, before you make that leap, you know, wait a beat. Ask yourself, was this person really yelling? Or was he or she just maybe a little enthusiastic?
Yes, enthusiastic. That's a good word.
Yeah, and not necessarily yelling. Nick says that Jessica, I think we won team because of that 700. So that was a big 700.
It was a huge one. Yeah, I think she placed pretty good in that tournament.
Yeah, that's awesome. So great memories. Okay, so last year, I want to kind of fast forward to last year, because one of these pictures that you sent me was you taking a picture of yourself in the mirror. And I believe that was in 2023, because you made the trip out to Las Vegas, to Sam's Town, to bowl the USBC Queens. Is that the first time you did that?
That was the second time I bowled Queens.
Okay. All right. Tell me about your Queens experience. What's it like?
It's intense. So yeah, that was, I believe, getting ready for about to go down for day one. Felt good after practice. Obviously nerves. That's just obviously we've learned that I get nervous before tournaments. But yeah, super nervous. I was traveling alone. I didn't have anyone with me really. Kayla Pacino, who's also one of my tournament teammates now, her and her husband were out there, and she bowled on the same squad as me. So like I had them, and David was helping me with surface and stuff like that. But for the most part, when I threw a ball and turned around, no one was there, which was kind of frustrating and kind of hard. But also like strong, independent woman, so it's fine. I started off the day, I think, with like a 223 or something day one, and I was just like feeling really good, feeling great. Like, all right, I'm on the burn. I'm hoping to go like even at this point. Game two, I ran into the infamous pair of lanes that was not oiled.
I was going to ask you if that was involved in your Queen's experience, but go ahead.
Game two, I remember the girl leading off on our pair threw the ball, and I just remember I was playing like just down the gutter and in, like very soft hand. It was, you couldn't get anything to hook in the middle. And I remember she just threw a ball and it crossed the lane and like took out the 7-pin. And she turned around and we all just like looked at each other and we looked back at everyone, and everyone just had this like look on their face, and we're just like, what the heck just happened? So yeah, that was, you have this game plan, you're going in, and this is a big tournament. The patterns are hard. And all of a sudden you're game two and you have to completely regroup and reimagine what you're doing. I know a lot of people throughout the day ended up throwing their spare ball. I don't think I got to that point. I think I just ended up like playing the lane completely differently than what I played every other lane that day. But yeah, it was a crazy experience. And the whole thing, even afterwards, coming out saying what had happened or how it was rectified, like it was just a very, very crazy thing.
Yeah. Did they offer like some kind of compensation for that? Did they refund people's entries?
Yep. So if you hit that lane on day one and did not make cut into match play, you were refunded your entry fee.
Okay. All right. So despite the struggle, you come out of there even Steven, fortunately or not, or unfortunately, depending on how you look at that. But
yeah.
What do you think about that? I mean, was the compensation enough to make up for the whoa?
I do appreciate the fact that they jumped on it quickly and acknowledged it and acknowledged the error. I think on that, I was happy with that, and then offering obviously the compensation. But being there live, you could see something was wrong immediately. So for that, I just felt like something could have happened right away rather than let certain people hit it and not other people.
Sure.
But I think as a whole, it happened. It is what it is. And I think they rectified it. They acknowledged it. So yeah, it is what it is at this point.
That's that's something that a lot of people will shy away from. It's far away. It's expensive. It's hard. I mean, you've gone twice. You've met that challenge head on. What has it taught you about your own game, about bowling in general, about what competing against the best in the world is really like?
Yeah, so the first time I went was 2015, I believe it was. It was in Green Bay. That was an experience. Like that was the first time I'd ever bowled any kind of like professional level tournament. Again, didn't have like any like expectations going in. I just wanted to compete. I just wanted to know that I could be there. It was very frustrating. Obviously growing up bowling, I wanted to be a professional from day one, like this was my goal. I wanted, be a pro. And that kind of shined a light of like, it's really hard. Everyone, I tell people I bowl and they're like, are you good? And I'm like, oh, I'm okay. And they're like, oh, you should be a pro. And I'm like, it's not that easy. Like it really is hard. So that kind of like that first Queen's kind of experience, I kind of took a step back and was like, do I really want to pursue this professional thing, or do I just want to like advance my career in Minnesota? But again, it is something it's a great experience. I love doing it. And of course, in the back of my mind, you always like, I want to go pro. So I think that's what keeps, going back. You just kind of want to prove to yourself that you have a right to be there and you've earned your spot there.
Yeah. Queens happens every year. It was just in Green Bay this last year. Do you see yourself giving it another go?
Yeah, I did not go this year, and I definitely have FOMO from that, and I knew I would. Me and Nick had this talk a lot. But I had a rough season last year, and I just wasn't in the right headspace. And I just knew like I just needed to take a step back for a season. But yeah, no, it's absolutely something I want to do again.
Yeah. Okay. Tom says you weren't this calm about it when we talked about it that week. Does he mean the pair?
Oh, yes, he did. Okay. I was like, what is he talking about?
Yeah. To catch up with these sometimes.
Well, it was a year and a half ago. I have time to, think about it and be mature about it. Yeah, so Tom, he came, they were, their tournament team was bowling in Reno the same time as the Queen was out. He flew out of Vegas, so he came and had a drink with me, and we actually did some gambling together, and I must have had that drink and been venting to him about it. But I mean, and then in the time, I was upset. But now, again, they hadn't really done anything about it at that point, so it was kind of like after the tournament, they rectified and not acknowledged it. And again, it's been a year and a half ago. Nothing I can do about it now.
Right. For sure. The Bowling Bro says, well, I am finally watching live after a while. Thank you. Thank you for watching live, Bowling Bro. Appreciate that. Tom says, just a little.
We had a lot to talk about that night.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We just have to guess what the topic of that conversation
Well,
was?
it was mostly bowling, but there was a lot of other things going on. Yeah. I mean, I was bowling, he was bowling, we talked about bowling. So
Okay, fair enough. I don't have a ton of video of you bowling. What I do have is from the 2023 Champions Pro Shop Open. I did kind of get a little crazy with the banner on the bottom, so you can really only see kind of your top quarter there. But what do you remember from that tournament? If I remember correctly, you were one of the only ladies on the squad.
yes, I was the only lady on that squad, and I was kind of surprised by that. I knew going into that tournament it wasn't going to be easy, so I was really banking on my spare game. And watching the video back, Terry was hyping up my spare game, and I think when I was on this pair, I missed a 4-pin in the 10th frame. But yeah, I knew it was going to be hard, but I definitely it was a great experience. Again, just putting yourself out there. I always kind of said, like, if you want to be a better bowler, you have to surround yourself with better bowlers. Like, you're not going to be a better bowler by surrounding yourself with people that you are better than. You have to learn and grow from people. And I think, when I moved to the cities, I was only averaging maybe upper 180s, lower 190s. And it got to the point, I think it was 16 or 17, I averaged 221. I was averaging 217. And then I'm kind of right around that 210 range now. But last season, we won't talk about. But, I kind of put myself in that like 205 to 210 category. And had I not been able to surround myself by these amazing, talented women that bowl here in the Twin Cities, I would never be at that level.
Yeah. And that's really cool. I mean, it's one thing to say, we all say it. Oh, you got to bowl hard things. You got to bowl on sport patterns. You got to bowl against better competition. But, it's another thing to get out there and do it. And you obviously have. And that says a lot, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always easy. It's not always a good time. But I think you have to be dedicated to your sport, and you have to know, like, you have to do hard things. It's not always going to be easy. You're not always going to go out and bowl 250s or even 200s. Last Wednesday, I struggled hard and kind of had a temper tantrum and a meltdown. But like at the end of the day, it is what it is. And at the end of the day, it is just a game. And it's a game I love. It's a game that has brought a lot of joy to my life and a lot of amazing people. So
yeah. And you're obviously doing the right things to get better at it, which, some people could learn from. The Bowling Bro wants to know if you've ever picked up the 7-10 split.
I have not. I picked up the 6-7 last night, but not the 7-10.
Okay. All right. Been close?
Been close, but no.
Okay. All right. You mentioned, kind of helping with the Farmington team. One of the other things that you do in bowling is you help out with the Midwest Senior Classic. Tell me how that came to be. How did you get involved with MSC?
So scorekeeping is something I've done since I was like a junior high bowler. All the tournaments in Duluth, like when state would go up to Duluth, I would always help out with scorekeeping. It was, again, I spend my time at the bowling alley. It's what I do. But it was just a really great experience, again, as a junior bowler, just to be able to help out, learn more about the game, learn more about people. and it's something I help out with state and city tournaments here. So when Nick said he was taking over the MSC, I was like, hey, if you ever need help with anything, scores, whatever it may be, just let me know. And he was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'm like, sounds good. And I remember the like July of 23, I think it was one of the first tournaments he took over. And I was like, hey, do you need help for the first tournament? No, we got it covered. I'm like, okay. And then I remember Sunday morning, I slept in a little bit and I was drinking my coffee on the couch and I get a text message from Tony Fitzgerald. Hey, can you come help out? I was like, yep. So I got ready in record time. I believe from the time he texted me, I got showered, got ready, and drove from Richfield to Amber Grove Heights to Dracula's. And I believe I was there within an hour. So, yeah.
Okay. Was that the one that I was at? Where
I think you
Brian Thielen won?
I can't remember. I think you might have been there. Yeah. I think maybe that's even where we met.
Could be. Yeah. Could be. It was a good tournament.
It was good.
I like that place.
Yes.
So of course I had to ask Nick about that because, that's the thing. He said she may not be a major contributor to the operation, such as the computer stuff and entering in all the data, but that doesn't mean she isn't any less impactful. Double negative. You are impactful. And he says, and he fully believes that if we taught her to do the computer side, she'd pick it up in a second. He asked, you came through, and I'm sure that's huge for Nick too, but what does that mean to hear that, you're an important part of that, you have impact, what you're doing is really, making a difference in the bigger picture?
Yeah, I think every tournament, Nick always sends a text to me and Jess, and he's just like, I just want to let you girls know how much I appreciate you, and I couldn't do this without you, and I just want you to know, like, I don't want you to ever feel like you're not appreciated. And we're like, we know, Nick, we know you appreciate us, we appreciate you. And I always just say, Nick, if I was in your shoes, I know you would be there for me. So it's just one of those things, like, again, I get to hang out with my friends and hang out with a bunch of like really amazing bowlers and write down scores and just take up space for a day. Like it's a lot. I honestly love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah. See, there's the confirmation too. You were there. Yeah. I was dog sitting for my brother, and yeah, I mean, he's in Plymouth, so that's not exactly right next door, but I mean,
close enough.
You can only hang out with the dog for so long, right?
Yeah.
And then it's time to go check out some great bowling at Dracula's. But yeah, that was a great event, and yeah, that's cool to see. Nick says, when we have all three of us there, it usually means that we're going to have a great, well-run day. When she is there, she helps make things run a lot smoother, and I think in a way keeps me and Jessica more calm, because we all enjoy being around each other, which allows us to be loose and mistake-free. When he brings up Jessica, is that the Jessica with the 2 700s?
Yes, that is that Jessica, the liar. Yes.
The liar. Yeah. The liar who claimed you yelled.
Yes.
And I'm saying that's at least debatable. Yeah. Being loose, mistake-free, great relationship with the three of you. I mean, what's it like to be a part of that?
It's great. Again, just the level of talent that's there. Like the Chad Nelsons of the world. Sam Lanto was just there. There's so many talented people. You can't even name them all. But again, just to be around those talents, just to be a small part of it. Again, sometimes I'm just writing down scores. Sometimes I'm doing the raffle. Sometimes I'm making sure the sheets are in order. Sometimes I'm cracking jokes so no one's too stressed out. It's great. Again, it's something I only do once a month, and sometimes again I can't be there every month. But I always have it in my calendar and make sure it's kind of a top priority. Sometimes other things come ahead, but I love it. I love being around my friends. So it's honestly not even like work or anything like that. It's just a day of hanging out with my friends at the bowling alley.
Yeah. I came out, at the top of this show saying this is one of the best senior events across the Midwest. And I don't just throw things around like that willy-nilly. I mean, these guys are great, ladies and guys. I mean, what does that tell you about, the people who really put in the effort for years and years and still want to compete at a high level in their 50s, 60s, 70s, beyond?
it makes me happy to know, like, you see people well into their 80s and 90s bowling. So it definitely is a sport that you can do your whole life. Again, I started at 5 and I hope to do it for the rest of my life. But yeah, like, and it's also been great because a lot of the guys I bowled with in Duluth on leagues are now coming down and bowling these tournaments. So it's really good to see them again. It's just good to catch up with them. And again, it's just really good to see the talent. And you mentioned the ladies. There's not only a lot of ladies there, but the ones that are there are really, really good. And that gives me hope that when I do reach that age in a couple of years, that there's going to be something for me to bowl in. So
yeah, for sure. I'm almost there myself. Maybe we'll see how my body holds up, but
it is a long day. It's a lot of bowling.
It certainly would be fun though.
Yes,
And it's
absolutely.
another one of those hard things that, makes you a better player. So other than, possibly doing Queens again, other than the MSCs, where do you see this thing going forward? I mean, you're still bowling, once a week, full time, other leagues part time, you do tournaments, obviously. Where do you go from here?
I would like to get more into tournaments. Again, I do kind of like the local tournaments. I go out to nationals. We have a women's national team ready to go next year. We're trying to figure out for the Open. But I definitely like, the Fargo tournaments, the Minot tournaments, South Dakota, like any of those. It's definitely something, maybe not this season, but hopefully next season I'm going to get, more into traveling like that. I mentioned, wanting to be a pro when you're growing up. And obviously that's something in the back of my mind. I would love to do it, but, we're adults and we have bills and we have jobs to do. But I think just having my name in the conversation as, a top female bowler in Minnesota, if that's something that happens, I'm ecstatic. People always ask me, like, are you a good bowler? And I will never ever say, like, oh my gosh, I'm so good. But I'm always like, I'm okay, because again, there are so many talented females and males in this area. It's hard to, say you're better than people because there are so many talented people here. But again, just I think having my name in that conversation as, yeah, she's a really good bowler and she's done a lot, not only for, herself, but also for the sport. So,
yeah. Tom says, if I can do it, you can bowl an MSC too, Fef. Tom, have you seen me throw a bowling ball? I mean, that's an important question to ask when you're throwing out stuff like that, bowling MSCs. I mean, it's kind of rough sometimes. Sometimes better than others, but sometimes kind of rough. It hurts.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a long day. It's a lot of bowling.
It's painful. I'm talking just bowling league is kind of painful.
Yeah.
8 games of qualifying or whatever you guys do, and step ladder. It's a lot. Oh, see, no, I have not. So, see, that's. I mean, one of these days, maybe I've got video of myself out there in the in the archives of this channel. If you really wanted to see it, you could, but
we'll have to dig it up.
it's nothing great. All right, so we're just past an hour here. We're gonna let you go in just a minute, but we cannot go without this.
Let's go off the sheet. Challenge a bowler to appear on a future episode.
I would like to challenge Will Madison.
I would say Diana Zavulova.
The better Russo, Lauren Russo.
We're looking for anyone who has a passion for the sport and a unique story to tell.
Some Minnesota flavor in that video. I guess I didn't really anticipate that. I mean, I played it over and over, so it's not just for this, but there you have it, off the sheet, where we have you challenge somebody else to be on a future show, so we can call somebody out. I can kind of keep my calendar full, and it's just something fun to do that I've enjoyed through the course of the show. So Nikki Reese, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
Thinking about this, I was going to challenge someone else, but she came up in conversation. I challenge Trista Kimmis to come on a future episode.
Okay. And why Trista?
Trista's an amazing person. She, again, one of the my first best friend when I moved to the Twin Cities. She was on the same tournament team as me. She is crazy talented. She doesn't bowl as much as she used to, but still crazy talented. And she's just very, her job is in the bowling industry. So I think she just has a really cool story to tell.
Yeah, that's the perfect type of candidate that I love to see get challenged for this. Trista, if you see this, if you're watching live, if you're watching on replay, and you're interested in taking Nikki up on her challenge, just reach out. I'm Andrew Pfeffer on Facebook, or you can email bowlingwiththepfeff@yahoo.com. We will make that happen. We have another Minnesota lady coming on the show this next Monday, November 4th. Katie Halfland has been a high-level competitor for decades in the Twin Cities area. She's got a great story to tell and an announcement about a new way to consume Bowling with the Pfeff content moving forward. How's that for a tease? 8 p.m. Central on a touch later than usual on Monday, November 4th. Be sure and check it out live or on replay. Nikki, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on, joining us, and sharing your bowling story. Unless you're going to pledge to become a Brewers fan from this point forward, I really don't have any questions, but other than to say it's been great.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I know a couple people challenged me to be on here, and I thank you so much to them, and thank you for that. I will not be becoming a Brewers fan. I'm still bitter and upset with my Twins, but there's always next year.
You know, you can be both.
I'm not saying I wouldn't go to a Brewers game. I'm just saying, as long as they're not playing the Twins, I'll cheer for them. But diehard Twins fan.
So we're kind of opposites in that regard, because I'm a Twins fan as long as they're not playing the Brewers. So maybe we'll coexist that way.
I was if they ever play each other, we're gonna have a battle. But
right, yeah, maybe there could be a bet involved. I don't know.
Yes.
You mentioned gambling, yeah. Keep that in the back of your mind. We might make that happen. Everybody, thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you for watching Bowling with the Pfeff. Pound the like button and subscribe button. It's the easiest way to support the channel, and it's free. Bowling with the Pfeff is brought to you by Chip Magnet. Raise your snack standards.
And Jerry's Score More Bowling inside Wagner's Land. The Eau Claire, Wisconsin area's leader in bowling supplies and services since 1988.
Email bowlingwiththepfeff@yahoo.com with questions or to appear on the show. You can also reach out on your favorite social media platform.